and that is what we are doing. So without further ado, I think we're going to get started and introduce today's speaker. So today we have Victoria A. Smalls, a Gullah Geechee native of St. Helena Island in South Carolina, promotes and uplifts her culture as a Gullah Geechee scholar, preservationist and educator, artist, and arts advocate. Victoria Smalls is the new executive director of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor National Heritage Area. And I gotta say, I thought that we had a long name as the Port Royal Sound Foundation Maritime Center, and you win today, where she helps to recognize, sustain, and celebrate the important contributions made to American history and culture by the Gullah Geechee in South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. She assists in interpreting the history and ever-evolving story of the Gullah Geechee and preserving the culture for the benefit and education of all. Victoria is a Leo Twiggs Arts Diversity Leadership Scholar, Riley Fellow in Diversity Leadership, and the Riley Institute of Furman University. And in April 2022, she was awarded the President's Lifetime Achievement Award, the highest civilian honor awarded in the United States for volunteer service. So we are really in for a treat today. I'm really looking forward to this. I love hearing about the Gullah Geechee nation, culture. It's really amazing. And we are truly in the heart of it here in, coastal South Carolina. So Victoria, without further ado, you are welcome to start. I'm going to stop sharing. You can take it over.
Hello, everyone. I am really so honored. Thank you, Chris, for the amazing introduction. I really appreciate that. It makes me feel, wow, I did all those things. I really appreciate the introduction. So welcome, everyone, to my presentation on the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor. We're going to talk a little bit about tourism in here and how it relates to our cultural and natural landscapes. But also tell the history of the people through the lens, beginning with why I am in this position and what compelled me to do the work that I do today. And let's begin. So definitely I want to share with you that we have this beautiful national heritage area. And it spans from St. Johns County, North Carolina, down to up at Pender County, North Carolina, down to St. Johns County in Florida. You can see a representation in the beige yellow color on the left side of the screen. And then it also kind of maps out some of our national historic parks, national maritime areas, national seashores, monuments, historic sites, because we are part of the National Heritage Area that is within the National Park Service. And so all of these are our partners that we do great work with telling the story of the Gullah Geechee people. What you see over to the right is going to be the rice coast of West Africa, where Gullah Geechee people are going to be brought over from because Gullah Geechee people are going to be the descendants of people brought from Africa for their expertise, knowledge, and skills as rice farmers for centuries. And so the knowledge and their labor actually have shaped the natural and cultural landscapes that we see today within the Gullah Geechee corridor. So that's natural, and everything from sweetgrass baskets to Gullah storytelling to making a cast net to catch the fish in the ocean and on the seashores. So all of this is coming from West Africa. I have a lot of slides to share with you all today. So when we talked about storytelling a little bit, that's one of our cultural traditions coming from West Africa. And so I'm going to tell a little bit of story, a little bit about me. And then we'll get to the culture and talk about how all of these things relate to one another. So my story is not unique at all. It is the story of most Gullah Geechee people that reside within this corridor and that have migrated out elsewhere. So this is some Gullah words. Unfortunately, what you hear today is not the first language that I learned. Gullah was my first language. And I had to assimilate to be able to not feel ashamed of speaking my first language. And that's what you hear today. So right here, it says, the father una can look back, the far ahead una can see. So that means the farther back, the farther you can look back, the farther ahead you can see. So we're going to talk a little bit about the farther that I'm trying to look back, and it really wasn't a great amount of time span, time span looking back, because I only knew the names of my parents, my grandparents, and my first great grandparents, because their names were written. Of course, I knew my parents, and I knew my Grammy, Elizabeth Smalls. And in our family Bible, it had my parents and her husband and their children, and then also their siblings, and then her parents and her husband's parents. So Elizabeth Smalls had my father, Elting Smalls, and my father is on her right, and he's holding the most beautiful baby in the world. That would be me, with the really big ears. And so we grew up in a community in the Eddings Point and Tom Fripp communities. This is where my ancestors come from and where I come from, on St. Helena Island. And so this is also going to be where our story begins, our oral history stories that we tell and pass down through our generations, which is something that is definitely Gullah Geechee. So my grandmother that you saw in the picture, we call her Grammy. And she stated that her mother, not her grandmother, not her great-grandmother, but her mother was a runaway from Charleston, South Carolina area, and was enslaved and ran away at 14, made her way from Charleston to Edisto, on through crossing the waters or overland and coming to St. Helena Island. We don't know her first name. I do not know her first name. And we know that she was a Smalls running away, being a freedom seeker. And she came to St. Helena Island and met another Smalls and married another line of Smallses. So my ancestry will be coming from these areas. So I always love to incorporate artwork within the presentations that I do, only because it tells a story. It tells our story in such a beautiful and profound way. And the image that you see on the left-hand side of the painting is by Diane Britton Dunham. And I like to add beloved Diane Britton Dunham, because she has since passed away this year. And I want to honor her in my presentations that I do and show a little bit of her art. So when Diane Britton Dunham, when Diane saw the image of my grandmother in a presentation that I was giving, she wanted to depict her in this way. And this one is called Gala Goddess, I believe. My memory is failing right now, but it does remind me of my grandmother because she wore white all the time. Now, my grandmother did something on Wednesdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and any other time where it was needed. And that was attend prayer house services. And spirituality is important to all of us and is very integral and entwined in our lives within the Gullah Geechee communities. So on the Tom Fripp former plantation, or our community of Tom Fripp, there used to be a prayer house that was built there during enslavement. And then after enslavement, during freedom and during Reconstruction, it still existed. And then to the point to where my grandmother was able to attend this prayer house. That prayer house no longer stands, but the memory and the memorial to it is this road sign. And so we would walk our grandmother, down from our very long winding dirt road where we had a farm in Tom Fripp. We would go to the Tom Fripp Road and we would turn right onto Prayer House Road, where she would attend the prayer house services. It was very memorable for us doing that, taking her on that walk. We were too young to actually participate within the worship services. We were really rambunctious. If you can imagine, farm kids on 20 acres of land, being free, loud, and truly Gullah is just a beautiful thing to witness. and very, very excited, very excitable, full of energy. And so the worship services were for a little bit older youth that were going through the baptism process or the ceremony, traditional ceremony of seeking. So I do want to talk a little bit about the prayer house. This image that you see on the left is actually coming from the Penn School papers. And when I learned of my grandmother, my first great grandparents' names, Adam and Betsy Smalls, I don't have an image of what they look like. So this image is just going to stand in for what I envision Adam and Betsy to look like. These beautiful Gullah people on a well-worn road. I imagine, because they're dressed so beautifully and they're standing there so nobly, that they're on their way to the prayer house to have worship service. Now, one of the things, this is a quote from one of the second set of principals, Rasa Cooley, and she was a principal at Penn School. And she talks about her first experience going to the prayer house and how amazing that it was. So she talks about how, and it's a little bit difficult to see. Let me see if I can move this out of the way. Yeah, it says, in our prayer houses is found the simplest, the most real form of the Christian religion I have ever seen. Here are the prayers offered that show the poetic power of the race. This is talking about her first experience witnessing a prayer house service. And that's something that we don't get to see today, other than in some performances. And if you were to visit a prayer house like the one that's pictured here in the bottom right, it's a very small white building, wooden, from the floor to the walls to the ceiling, very tiny. And this one does open up from tours if you take a special tour with a company. And sometimes you're able to go inside or peek through the window to see what it looks like. Well, Rasa Cooley, she was able to witness, like I said, on her first experience with prayer house service, is that it was just so powerful. Not everyone had that experience. Just one moment. And so as I was talking to you about not knowing a lot about my grandmother, my great-grandmother's family, and then also my father's father, Adam Smalls, so I did not know a lot about them. And then I started researching about how many ancestors we have. All of us have these, not just Gullah Geechee people, but all of us have this number of ancestors. And I was able to find my first great-grandparents because their names were in our Bible. And then we were able to research a little bit further and find some of our second, some of our third, and only two of our fourth great-grandparents on my father's side. And this is what our diagram looks like. And I'm telling you these things and sharing these things with you because my story is not unique. Many of our Gullah Geechee people have this struggle. If you're an African American in America and your ancestry and your legacy, not your legacy, but your genealogy and lines tied to enslavement or tethered to enslavement, then you will have some missing information and full gaps in your genealogy because of the very nature of enslavement. So here's some more Gullah words for you. If ona ain't know where ona gwan, then ona should know where ona come from. You can understand what I'm saying right now because I'm not speaking fluently in Gullah and do not have much of the accent and lost a lot of it. But so you can understand a little bit, but it is a beautiful language. And it says, if you don't know where you are going, I don't want to speak Gullah, then you should know where you come from. And so it was that when we saw all this missing information within our genealogy, we decided that we were going to get a genealogy DNA test, actually, a DNA test. And we found out that my African ancestry comes from all of these countries: Senegal, Mali, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Cameroon, and all the way down is the Congo. So all of these countries represent much of what the mixture is when you find Gullah Geechee people. We're a melding of all of these and more beautiful cultures. And of course, some of us even have Native American ancestry, as I do. So when I needed more help to find out who my people are, where I come from, the names of my ancestors, I turned to one of my dear friends. And I'm so fortunate that she works for the PBS show Finding Your Roots with Dr. Henry Louis Gates. And before she started doing that work, which keeps her busy around the clock, she was able to take me into our Beaufort County records and deeds office and pull up our land records, because we're landowners. And many of us, if we don't own land now, some of us owned land formerly. So she was able to dig deeply and find some names on our family land deed. And she took those names and dug and dug and dug into the Freedmen's Bureau bank records and was able to find this document that Adam Smalls filled out on Bay Street in Beaufort at the Freedmen's Bank on February 9, 1869. And this document pointed out and uncovered many of my other family members that we were able to fill in some of those gaps later on our family tree, in our family Bible, and place them in there. So Adam was about 35 years old when he filled this out at the bank. And this is of course, it's 1869. So both Adam and his wife, Betsy, were formerly enslaved. And his occupation was farming. And on here, under that, it says that he works for himself on his own land. So even today, we still own a portion of the land that he purchased. So I'm going to move on. Well, I'll move on to the next one. So this is an image of the Freedmen's Bank that Adam and Betsy had to go to fill out this bank application. In 1869, they purchased a great deal of land. Not in 1869, between 1865 and 1869, they purchased 59 acres of land. 59. They went across the street to one of the federal tax sales that took place during Reconstruction here in Beaufort. They put their money in the bank here. And because they had 59 acres of land, they worked the land. And the bottom picture is actually one of the National Park rangers here, Mr. Ranger Christopher Barr, talking about the Freedmen's Bank, which is now a portion of like the monkey's uncle. So right there's a very small plaque that tells you what that building used to be. If you're in the Beaufort area, you should visit it and read the plaque, or even take a walking tour with one of the rangers. And they talk a lot about the Reconstruction era history, which really coincides perfectly with the Gullah Geechee culture. So with that 59 acres of land, they grew Sea Island cotton. So the cash crops for Gullah Geechee people in this area are going to be, of course, rice, Sea Island cotton, and indigo. And this is actually a tax statement, a federal tax statement, talking about the sale of the lands where Adam and Betsy were able to go and purchase the land. The image that you see is not of Adam and Betsy or the workers in which they paid to harvest the cotton. It is actually just showing you how tall the Sea Island cotton grows. It goes up to like 6 or 7 feet with Sea Island cotton, where the regular staple cotton is very low to the ground. So they grew that with 59 acres of land. So soon we were able to find out Sancho, Adam's father's name, and it says on the right-hand side that Sancho, his father is dead and his mother is Afi, but he also has a brother named Sancho and Abel. And over on the left-hand side is one of his brother's Freemans Bank applications. He went in about the same time as Adam Smalls did, but about a couple of years later, maybe I guess it's July 16, 1865, I think it is. So a few years later after Adam went in, Sancho's going to go in and open a bank account as well. But we assumed that Sancho's name, Adam Smalls' father's name, would be Smalls. And it turns out that his name was not Smalls. His name was Sancho Blood, Blood. And as I say, these stories in our family histories is not unique just to me. Many of the Gullah Geechee people have information that's so missing that we have to uncover through genealogy workshops that we hold, through different activities, learning, and educational programs that we have. So one of the rangers here in the park dug a little bit deeper because my friend was unable to find out where Sancho, the father, was born, and his lineage just stopped. Well, one of the reasons why it stopped is because my third great-grandfather was born in Africa, not my 16th or not my 8th, but just my third great-grandfather was born in Africa. And it's still our task and our work to find out where in Africa. But because we have these DNA tests, we're able to guess, through although there are like 9 countries that are listed there, it does help us kind of figure out where my largest percentage of DNA, African DNA, comes from. And maybe that is Sancho. So it's like piecing together this puzzle. So we were really happy to go on a trip to Sierra Leone, West Africa, and talk about why we are so connected to West Africa, why we are Gullah Geechee. And we went over to discover our roots within the rice fields of Sierra Leone, within the foodways, within the ceremonial traditions. And it was such an amazing experience that South Carolina ETV was with us and was able to put together this documentary called Gullah Roots. And I want to invite you to take a look at that to learn more about where we come from, one of the countries that we come from. So again, if una ain't know where una guan, then una should know where una come from. And so we're going to talk now about the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor. So this is another rendering, another map of the corridor. And you can see all the way at the top where the corridor extends beyond Wilmington, North Carolina, down our beautiful coast, past Jacksonville, and extends down to St. Augustine, Florida. It goes from the Atlantic coast to about 30 miles inland and more. A little bit more. And so we cover about 12,000 square miles from Pender County, North Carolina to St. Johns County, Florida. And there are about 27 counties in our National Heritage Area. And guess how many staff we have? 2 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff. However, we are not alone. We work under the advisement and expertise of our Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Commission. And these are commissioners that are appointed by the federal government, by the Department of the Interior. And so, as I stated earlier, rice is going to be one of the cash crops. The reason why we are going to be here as Gullah Geechee people. So Gullah Geechee people, we are descendants of Africans brought to the United States and enslaved for generations because of our expertise, knowledge of growing, cultivating, and harvesting rice. And our diverse African roots and the very nature of enslavement and isolation within Sea Islands and coastal areas created this beautiful and unique culture that is embedded and displayed through our cuisine, our spirituality, music, storytelling, our performing arts, definitely our language, oral traditions, artist-led religion, our spirituality. but in the natural landscape as well. So if you were to take a helicopter ride over the Cumberland River as you're passing over the Harriet Tubman Bridge and you see the Ace Basin, all of that used to be rice fields and worked and cultivated by formerly enslaved people. So this is going to be a newspaper rendering from that time period. I'm sorry, it's not so clear. In the center, it gives the economy, the plantation economy work for rice. And it really is a very clean representation of what it was like, because rice cultivation was extremely dangerous, deadly, labor intense work. And this is just a very simplistic rendering of what it entailed. This is another close-up of working in a rice field. It's always wet. You're going to have the water come in and flood and germinate the seed. You're going to need the water to help and grow and cultivate the rice plant. And then you'll take away the flooding in the water with the rice trunks and dikes to help regulate all of that out of the area. And then you're going to harvest the rice. And this is what harvesting will look like, or uploading or unloading the rice onto barges onto the water. And these will be flat bottom barges that can come very close to the shore. So I'm thinking we all love rice. And Gullah Geechee people absolutely love rice. And when we went over to Sierra Leone, we actually met our family that ate rice with breakfast, lunch, and dinner as well. And that it is truly stated that you have not eaten a meal unless you've had rice on your plate. All of this is part of our Gullah cuisine. I've made 4 of these dishes. The middle one, the crab and rice. The lower one, the low country bowl, or some people call it frogmore stew. The bottom right, the okra, actually it's squash and shrimp sauteed, and then the okra, tomato, gumbo, and shrimp. Oh, it's amazing. So I just wanted to help you salivate and make you a little hungry. So we talked about Adam and Betsy buying 59 acres of land. This is not Adam and Betsy's, so this is not my family, but this is a family, the Smith family from the Smith Plantation here in Port Royal. This is a very iconic image that shows 5 generations of a family that live on the land. One of the things is that the Smith families and their descendants are still living in the Port Royal area. They still own land there. This is an image of my father attending Penn School. He graduated in 1941. He learned many industrial trades and agricultural ways, but he was a scholar athlete as well. And he was a blacksmith there, carpenter. He also learned how to work the land and pass that tradition down to us as we worked our 20 acres of land as children. This is another beautiful image of Miss Sarah Reynolds Green, one of our Gullah elders on St. Helena Island, and she continues to do the work of passing down the tradition of working the land. We say work the land when it comes to farming in a Gullah community. She takes an after-school girls program to her farm and teaches them about the land and where food comes from and how it ends up in the grocery stores and on our tables at home. The land is also going to be really important when we talk about sweetgrass. All of this is going to be related to rice culture and aquaculture, the reasons we are Gullah Geechee today. So we all kind of see that the sweetgrass basket is kind of like this iconic symbol for the Gullah Geechee people. Coiled baskets. When we traveled to Sierra Leone, we were able to see this very similar type of basket called a shukublai. And if you look, I know you can't see it on the shelf, but it's right above my head, unfortunately, and it's a little bright pink. You can't see it, a bright pink basket. And it is almost exactly like the sweetgrass basket that our sweetgrass sowers make here. Again, I love to incorporate the artwork of our Gullah Geechee creatives and culture bearers. As you can see, this artist is showing the waterways, the love of nature, our natural landscapes, and the cultural ways of the Gullah Geechee people with the sweetgrass baskets and the rice. This is by the artist Mary Ferris in Bluffton, South Carolina. You can actually go to the Port Royal Sound Foundation in the Maritime Museum and see a rendering, a beautiful mural of the crabs on the side of the sign there, and that is by Mary Ferris. So I'm running out a little. How much time do I have, Chris? Am I doing okay?
You're doing great. We're 35 minutes in. I would say you have another 30 minutes to talk and questions. And I also say that if anybody has any questions, please direct them to the chat or Q&A, and I'll field them as we're talking.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate you. It's so great. I have more time, but I want to make sure that, like you said, we have time for Q&A. So water is going to be very important because it's the water that brought us here. The water brought us here. And I want to also say that however far the stream flows, it never forgets its source. That's an African proverb. However far the stream flows, it never forgets its source. So with us coming from the continent of coming from the continent of Africa, from the coast and some central areas of West Africa, then coming across the Atlantic coast during the transatlantic slave trade, and then also living off of the coast. Water is going to be extremely important to us, and it's also a spiritual force for us as well. That those are the things, the spiritual practices, some of them that we're bringing over with our memory from West Africa. So some of the things that we do, we make the Gullah Batto that you see in the image all the way at the top, the black and white image. And you'll see the gentleman standing in the Gullah Batto, or bateau, or boat. It's a flat bottom boat with no point at the bottom. I don't know what that's called, but maybe someone in the chat can tell me at the bottom of the boat when you have the peak at the bottom. These Gullah Battos do not have that. And this is going to be able to help us navigate very little streams of water during low tide, and then also bring the vessel all the way up to the shore without getting wet, hopefully. So you see him standing in the boat. So during the time period before our bridges, and even during our bridges, our first bridge or second bridge being built, you had to rely on the waterways as your transportation, or the quickest form of transportation, to get to one island to another, or one part of the island to another, to get from the island to the mainland, rather. And these boats are actually that the knowledge of building these boats is going to be coming from West Africa, from our ancestors, and we've passed that tradition on down. And it's the same with the cast net that you see in the bottom, with the gentleman standing in the marsh shore along the river, and he has the string attached to his hand, his wrist, and he's tossing out this beautiful cast net that is like an umbrella that's going to go down to the water, fall down all the way to the bottom, get the flounder, the shrimp, the whiting, the croaker, the all different amazing fish that you're going to catch there. Even some yucky squid that I did not like having to touch when I was a little girl. So that cast net, or cast nets like that, are handmade, and that is also a tradition that we're bringing back from West Africa. Over to the right, you see our beloved Joseph Cripp-Legree. He's a master Gullah preservationist recognized by the state of South Carolina. He has since passed away for some time, and he is actually showing in the picture depicting him sewing a cast net, and it does take a great deal of time to make. Again, this is me showing.
Victoria,
yes.
Just a couple questions. Somebody was curious about, you had talked a lot about your lineage. Are you related by chance to Michael Smalls?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because I believe Michael does the sweetgrass baskets at Coastal Discovery Museum.
I know him well. I don't know. And There are an awful lot of Smallses, and I want to say yes because I just so adore Michael and Dino, and that I love that what they're doing and passing on the tradition of sweetgrass sowing and telling this story. I want to be related to him.
Yeah, absolutely. We have one of their baskets in the center being displayed right now. It's beautiful.
Yay. Perfect.
I also have another question, and I'm hoping that Charles Nicholson sent me a question. Charles, I sent you a message. Could you clarify what you're asking? He was asking about Native American remnants, and I'm not sure what he's referring to or where he's referring to.
Maybe he's talking about how does the Native American culture express itself or appear within the Gullah culture.
Yeah, maybe.
And that can be through the knowledge that we gained while living, in close proximity to them. That is some of the natural herbs and plants that grow here, and learning that sassafras can be used for medicinal purposes, that the Spanish moss that hangs from the tree is used medicinally, that life everlasting can be used medicinally. So there's some things there. And some things I can't answer. I'm still wanting to learn more about my native ancestry of Cherokee, and I have a lot to learn, so forgive me.
Yeah, and I do believe that a lot of the enslaved people, when they were escaping, were assimilated into the Native American tribes in the area. So there is a lot of connections with that.
Yeah, there would be freedom seekers that during enslavement that would run into some areas that were welcoming and forming actually the Seminole Nation of people, which is a mixture of formerly enslaved Africans, and then also Native nations. And I'm not exactly sure which ones, but that is going to be where Seminole people are going to go down south. So a lot of people think that migration only happened going north, but it went to the west and it went to the south. And would I be able to talk a little bit about the language, or are we running out of time?
Nope, you have plenty of time. Keep on going. Thank you.
Okay, definitely. So our African retentions also come across within the language that we speak. And these are some examples of some of the words. There's more than 5,000 West African tribal language words that are melded within not with the English language, and that is going to be a Creole mixed language that forms not a broken English, not pidgin English, not a dialect, but actually a language of Gullah. And so I can pronounce some of these for you. For woman, it's umun. For you, it's una. For sister, it's tida. Isn't that so? Any. White man, which we don't really use this a lot, is bakra, but historically, yes, that was used quite a bit. He, she, it, his, and her is e. Dawn, I love this word, it's one of my favorites, is day clean. Turtle is kuda. Talk, what I've done a lot, crack it teeth. Ooh, that gal crack it teeth a lot, any. Yam is eat. Guan is going. Vegetable is vegetable. So that's a little bit. I want to share a little bit from a children's story so that you can hear Anita Prather, who's known as Aunt Pearlie Sue, who is one of our storytellers. I would like you to be able to hear a little bit of this. So Chris, can you play that audio for me?
Yep, I sure will. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to take over.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to take over this. Sure.
Yes.
So you guys.
It'll just be a quick second.
Get out of my way. There's too much other things in front of me right now.
Fine looking boy, you hear what I say? But now, that Elmo and Ezra, you talk about lazy. Oh, them boy been so lazy. You ever had anybody so lazy they won't sleep for your own self? That been them two boys. They want somebody else to sleep on. But now, let me tell you, boy, let me speak. I tell that girl, I said, listen here. You stop for do so much for them boys. Because them children gonna be lazy down your hand road. I tell that girl. I said,
okay. So we're going to stop there, Chris. And then let's go on over to the Harvard teacher while you are there. Oh, sorry.
No, I can do that. Yeah. No worries.
Yeah, let's go ahead and listen to. So the Gullah language is so important that Harvard University saw fit to bring on this gentleman.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you want to keep talking, Victoria?
No, go ahead and play the video.
How exactly do you say hello, bye in Gullah? Some examples. Some Michaud. How wanted to do? Hello there. My name is Sam Michaud. How are you doing? Seevening, good evening, good evening. Morning now. What you say there, Bubba? I did now. All right. Well, look at ya. Watch out there now. Church folk often greet each other with praise the Lord. And that can be either your way of saying hello or goodbye. Go kidding. Praise the Lord. I'm a warrior. These are just a few standard ways of saying hello and goodbye in the Gullah Geechee language, but there are many more. The way that you greet someone and say goodbye to someone is based largely on the dynamic between the two of you. Whether that dynamic is positive, negative, or neutral, that will be most likely reflected in the way that you address one. So that's it for now. Until next time, we out, y'all.
Thank you, Chris. You can stop that before it goes to the next video that may not be what we want to watch. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you for doing that. So we're going to skip this one. So Sun Michaud is at Harvard, and he teaches not only Gullah language, but he has found that Geechee is actually a dialect of Gullah. And then he also teaches Jamaican patois, which all of these languages are very similar and come from the source of West Africa. So we shared a little bit about the storytelling with Aunt Pearlie Sue telling the story, her rendition of The Three Little Pigs. And then we have the artist Jonathan Green here that talks about growing up right here in the Beaufort Gardens Corner area, Beaufort County Gardens Corner area, and it's a Gullah community. He talked about gathering under a huge live oak tree within their community. And he said in the evening, it was common for our family, community members, and youth to sit around a tree to tell and listen to stories, histories of our ancestors, myths, and traditions. So some of the songs that we have are going to be like Michael Rowed the Boat Ashore. And I did have an example of that, but I'm going to no, we're not going to listen to that one. Only because we want to make sure we have enough time for Q&A. So Michael Rowed the Boat Ashore is going to be a song that originated here in the Sea Islands. We're not exactly sure which Sea Island, but maybe all of them, because when there were no bridges, you had ferry boatmen or young boys that would ferry people across, and they would keep the rhythm to pass time and to entertain the people that they were rowing across the shore. So Michael Rowed the Boat Ashore is definitely one of our spirituals and one of the songs that were sung as our ferrymen would go across the water. So when we talk about spirituality, we have to incorporate some of the West African traditions that are still intact, that you may not see in a house of worship, but are displayed through festivals of very special programming, like the Geechee Gullah Ring Shouters of Darien, Georgia, and the McIntosh County Shouters of Darien, Georgia. These are going to be two of the three known groups that help preserve the tradition of the ring shout, which is a very sacred ceremony that has been incorporated within Christian worship during the Praise House worship service and is directly related to West Africa. If you're interested in helping your children, your youth learn more about Gullah through storytelling, there's a few books here. Definitely Circle and Broken talks about sweetgrass and the ancestral connection to West Africa. G is for Gullah. And then also, many of you, I hope you know about Gullah Island. That was Gullah Island was on Nick Jr. television. And also we have Gullah folk tales from the Georgia coast. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry.
Victoria, do you want to play that the McIntosh County Shouters?
Oh, yes, please. I forgot. Thank you. Do that.
I also have a question when we're done with this.
Okay.
Is there a space in here you want me to skip to?
Yes, keep going, 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 going. If you go faster, does it show you the image? Yes. Keep going, going, going. Right there. Thank you. Let's go forward a little bit more so maybe we can see the ring shot performed. Keep going. Some more. Right there. Stop. No. Yep, right there. There we go. So this is not dancing. This is going to be an actual ceremonial, sacred ceremony that was held. Maybe yes, because I think we caught it at the end. Thank you. And they do not cross their feet because that would be considered dancing. They're actually performing at the Smithsonian in this image right here, at one of the Smithsonian's events. We can move forward now.
So I did have a quick question. Somebody asked, the Gullah Geechee community clearly has a strong presence in the Sea Islands around Beaufort and St. Helena. Is that the case throughout the entire cultural heritage corridor?
Yeah.
Or are the communities very centrally located in specific spots?
So hold just one second. Someone's at my door. Sorry. You want to let my sister-in-law in? Thank you. Sorry about that. So I apologize, everyone. So the question was, will you see what is depicted on St. Helena Island throughout the corridor? Now, St. Helena Island has a is represented very well within the culture. You have the Penn Center that is there is like an epicenter for Gullah Geechee culture. You have the Gullah Grub Restaurant. You have the Gullah Visitor Center. You have the Gullah and Marsh View Organic Farms that is there. You have people that have now learned to become proud of their Gullah ancestry and heritage, where it once was a negative thing to be called Gullah. So we're very fortunate to be here in Beaufort County. Very fortunate to be here in Beaufort County because we're one of the places that celebrates it in such a great way. Charleston does that as well. You see that also in Wilmington, North Carolina, and Leland, North Carolina, when they talk about the Rice Festival, when they hold the Rice Festival. It's not so evident on a daily basis. We are working within the Gullah Corridor to be able to recognize if it's something that is labeled Black or African American, but is native to that space within the Gullah Geechee Corridor. More than likely, it's Gullah Geechee. You will see a beautiful, amazing presence in the coastal Georgia areas on St. Simon's Island, Sapelo Island, going on down into Brunswick County and down into Florida. You'll see it, but is it as strong? Maybe in some aspects, but we're very fortunate here in Beaufort County, and we as a corridor want to make sure and help support the other Gullah communities to get to recognize and celebrate their culture in a larger way, in a larger scope. And this is some of the ways in which we do that. We hold programs throughout the corridor. We put these signs up. We are a National Heritage Area, a very unique one. And sometimes as you're traveling along the main highways and roadways, you'll see these signs that kind of will identify that you are going through the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor. We also try to do this in uplifting our communities, our Gullah Geechee communities, through heritage tourism. And we built an alliance to help do that. These are some of the images of the celebrations that we help to support and promote and even present at. So there's some times where we get to present at a place. I'm going to skip through. Of course, food is very important. These are some of the activities that we do, and I'm trying to find the slides. So this is kind of what we do in North Carolina. Right now, there's a historic Gullah church that has been worked to be renovated. And it doesn't look like this anymore because they were very successful in the beginning process of getting it renovated. But they also want to tell the stories of the Gullah Geechee community, historic sites, and the rice culture through the North Carolina Rice Festival. Then we also have Hilton Head Island Gullah celebration in February. In July, we have the Sweetgrass Festival in Mount Pleasant. Penn Center Heritage Days in November has a Gullah Festival. We also have the Food Festival, Gullah Food Festival, also on Hilton Head Island. And then this weekend, you have the Gullah Festival right here in Beaufort. So if you want to learn about the culture, these are the ways and portals in which you can learn. If there aren't a museum, there's no museums. If it's not being taught in the school in a great way, if you do not have a space to go to, the festivals are really a great way to learn, like Juneteenth celebration, talking about the celebration of all people that were formerly enslaved. In Georgia, we have these other places as well. And we have the Georgia Sea Island Days Festival, which is Gullah Geechee. And then we have the Gullah Geechee Family Day. And then there's also Butler Island Day, which talks about the descendants, celebrates the descendants of a former site of enslavement. You have also in Georgia, Sykars puts on the Cultural Day that's coming up in November. And just other celebrations. We also go state by state and hold public meetings to educate people and help educate people about the culture, but also hear from community members about projects that they want to put forth and that we can support. Florida, you have the Rails to Trails Festival in rural Armstrong, Florida. There's also the Fort Mose that's there, which is a national site that we get to work with in doing public programming there as well. Some more of the artists that we help promote. This is a Mary Ferris that I showed earlier. We even work with television crews to help share the culture in a greater way. I'm going to go through this very quickly. This is Kingsley Plantation at Timaquan in Florida. We work with them. And so now I need to stop because I've only left a little bit of time for Q&A. So I want you to reach out to us at info@gullahgeecheecorridor.org. We have a strong Facebook presence, so you can connect with us there. And actually it's Gullah Geechee Corridor. And then also our website is gullahgeecheecorridor.org. And I put 2 links in the chat very early on so that you can click on easily. Chris?
Yeah, that was amazing.
It was a lot.
Enjoyed it. It's okay. That's why we're here. We are here to listen and hear what you have to say. And it's really great to know just the information about how people can come and see the heritage in person, right? I think I will probably attend at least a day at the Gullah Festival this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to that. And if anybody has any questions, now is your chance. You can field them in the chat or the Q&A. And even if we don't get to any questions, or if you think of something later on, you are welcome to email me and I can send them to Victoria. But I do have one question popping up here. Will the corridor website have Juneteenth events advertised throughout the region?
So one of the things that we do, we put out the Gullah Geechee News, and it's our newsletter that we put a lot of known events within that newsletter, and you have to sign up for that on our website. So if you go to gullahgeecheecorridor.org, you can click on the sign in the right field, and you may have to scroll down a little bit depending on what screen you're looking at, and you can sign up for the newsletter. We are building a new website that is going to be heritage tourism heavy, and we want to be able to talk about the Juneteenth celebrations because this is going to be really important. It's a national holiday, and even though Juneteenth was not, taking place here in Beaufort and other places along the corridor, we're not at that time. The celebrations is really talking about freedom. And if all of us are not free, none of us are free. So even though this area in Beaufort was going to be emancipated, not legally by law in 1861, and then in 1863, and then in 1865, our brothers and sisters and our ancestors are going to be still enslaved in Texas in areas. So at that time, it's really important to share that history is important. Until we tell all of our stories, there's so many things that are missing. So it's a great opportunity to not only tell the story of Juneteenth, but also the connection of Gullah Geechee people and the celebrations and traditions that we have and still have. So yes, you will see most of our events on our Facebook page and in our newsletter. And if you want to reach out on the contact us and contact us through our website, request a newsletter, and you can even ask for the last newsletter to see what some of those events are. We are going to actually be launching our new newsletter on the 3rd of June. So more of the Juneteenth events will be in that issue. So if you sign up now for the newsletter, you're more than likely be okay.
So I just put the link on the chat for the newsletter. If anybody wants to sign up, you should just go to the chat and it'll be made available. I'm trying to find out, there's another question about information about this weekend.
I see Gullah Geechee Corridor Watch Night there.
Yeah, so that's just the link says
Okay.
that.
Good.
It goes right to the it should go to the sign up for it, or at least to sign up for the newsletter. It goes directly to that. You'll see it right on the left side when you log in.
Okay.
I'm trying to find information for this weekend's event on your Facebook, and I'm just not.
So that's go to Gullah Geechee, go to Gullah Festival or the original Gullah Festival, and up where it says tickets. There's a schedule of events there, and it is amazing. Oh my goodness, let me tell you. I'm trying to get the page for the Gullah Festival on Friday. I only put down the things that I'm attending. So all day, full day on Friday. They have Gullah Rondays, who is one of the stars of Gullah Island, will be putting on a presentation at Tabernacle Church on Friday at 5. There is a cost. There's also drummers and dancers all the way from Sierra Leone that will be attending and performing. And then also there's a Caribbean all-white dance affair at Friday night at the Waterfront Park. Decoration Day. There's another event that we're presenting at in Charleston at the McLeod Plantation in Charleston called Decoration Day on Saturday. But Gullah Festival also has a full lineup of events on Saturday. We will have an activity booth there, one where you can get information on some of the upcoming events, and then also an activity where you can take home some art with you. Then on Sunday, there's a whole nother full day. They have a worship service 9 to 10. Then they have from 2 to 7 o'clock at night, more entertainment. So right at the Waterfront Park here in Beaufort.
Yep. So I also put the link in the chat for those programs. So everyone can go into the chat you'll see a link directly to the original GullahFestival.org. And you can see everything from there, the tickets, the events, the times. It's all at the Waterfront Park again in Beaufort.
So one of the things that we're really proud of is that we're supporting the Gullah Festival in a really great way with having some activities there. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are the days there. And we have an activity table there. Visit us. You can even sign up for the newsletter while you're there, and take home a beautiful piece of art that is West African inspired.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the information. Everyone click on those links and get them on your computer right now. Victoria, thank you so much
You're so welcome.
For taking the time out of your schedule to entertain all of us. And I think I've already gotten a few comments that they really enjoyed the talk. So you did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Call on me whenever you need us. We just hired a great program coordinator, and we have commissioners that can come and speak at different places, and I do that as well. So if there's anyone out there interested in having us come, reach out to us on those links, and we'll be happy to see if we can get that scheduled. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Again, next week, we have another talk at the same time. Kristen Matson, please sign up for those. You can find those links on our Facebook, on our calendar, on our website, portroyalsoundfoundation.org. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.